week in October. The change in seasons has brought about a number of changes for this event, the 10th annual running of the Pennzoil Nationals. A huge crowd on hand. That's one of the benefits. The climactic conditions, much more enjoyable for the spectators. For the racers, the performance advantage is there as well. The racetrack's been helped, but the weather's a big key. Alan Reinhart has the story in Top Fuel.
Well, the change to October didn't do anything to hurt the attendance here in Memphis. As you can see, the fans have filled this place up. The weather is beautiful. The whole weekend has been great, and it didn't take long for the records to fall in Top Fuel. In the final qualifying session, Corey Mack in the McDonald's car coming up in the near lane, shocked everybody. 459, 318 miles an hour. Corey, obviously, is your #1 qualifier. And Wes Cerny has got the Miller Lite team back on track. Larry Dixon is quick and consistent. They're qualified well, expecting to go a few rounds here today. Eddie Hill in the yellow car racing in front of his sponsor. A little wheel stand here off the starting line, but Eddie caught it early, got the car to land safely with no damage to the Pennzoil machine. Those boys are ready to go. And for Big Red, Team Winston may just be back. Gary Selzy Friday night ripped off a 4.60. He comes in the points leader and #2 qualifier. The way the ladder's set up, there's going to be somebody making some interesting moves in the Winston Points Championship here this weekend. We're going to have to wait and find out a little bit later how that turned out. For the story over in the funny car camp, here's Bill Stevens.
Gee, why does everybody say it's cooler in October? It still feels warm to me. Oh, it's the Copenhagen girls. And you know what? They want you to know that there was a lot of excitement in funny car qualifying. And one guy who didn't think it was very exciting is the guy that you'll see in the near lane right now with Bazemore. Final qualifying session. That's Jim Blake in the far lane. With Bazemore doesn't qualify. Jim Blake doesn't, and the car bursts into flames. Goes 5:14 to qualify 14th, and then look at this. He's on a wild ride. He gets out of the car after it slowly comes to a stop. A lot of fire damage on that automobile, but they say they will be ready for round 1. Here's Tim Wilkerson. Not only drives, but does a lot of tuning on the John Costanza-owned funny car. He went 499 in qualifying, became the first guy ever to go 4 seconds on this drag strip. How about Bruce Pendragon? Had an appendectomy last Monday. Less than a week later, he's back in the funny car and qualifies 4th with a 499. What a stud. And look at this. Randy Anderson's going to take us for a ride that lasts 4.96 seconds. His qualifying pass, he went to the #1 position and comes in the top seed. Mr. Cameraman, hello. Yeah, hi. Anyway, I'm going to control my tire shake right now and send it back to Dave McClellan with what happened in Pro Stock.
Bill, you got to watch out for those good vibrations. Pro Stock, there were lots of good ones. There were some records made and barriers broken here, the first of which came in qualifying by the Slick 50 Pontiac driven by Bruce Allen, the Rare and Morrison team car. The first Pro Stocker in the 6-second zone, 6.999. It was Mike Thomas' best outing in qualifying. He made it to the #3 spot with a great 6.98. His previous best spot, #7. Darrell Alderman took us for a ride in his 1-week-old Jerry Bickle car. He qualified 10th at a 7 flat. And Connor Johnson. This may be the first time you've ever seen Connor. That's Kurt's son, his wife Kathy. They were very happy because Kurt's #1 in qualifying, a 6.96 at over 197.5 miles an hour. Lots of money up for grabs. There's $460,000 plus in cash. The total purse topping $1.4 million. And there's big bonus bucks up if Corey McClenathan can set a new national record. He's already got a 459, would serve as a backup. He could pick up $50,000 in MBNA bonus cash, adding yet to the amount of money that could be paid out here at this Pennzoil Nationals. ESPN2's coverage of the 10th annual running of the Pennzoil Nationals is brought to you by Pennzoil, formulated for today's stop-and-go driving. Stop. Go Pennzoil. The
previous 9 runnings of the Pennzoil Nationals were held in May or June, which in Memphis means blazing heat and dripping humidity. So arriving in the Bluff City in October forces Top Fuel crew chiefs to throw out their previous data and tune from scratch. Alan Johnson ought to know what to do. He's kept Gary Scelzi in the points lead, racing in all sorts of conditions since the start of the season. Lee Beard in his newly acquired Budweiser uniform has a win last week in Topeka already under his belt, and he's been in the winner's circle in Memphis before. And his protege, Mike Green, and the Golden Arches gang have been the hottest team on the tour with 6 final rounds in the last 3 months. Jim Brock has Joe Amato flirting with the record book every time out. And Ken Benny has Mike Dunn running career best, and he is the defending champion. With only 4 races left on the schedule, this race will have a serious influence on the Winston points by the time the teams pack it up tonight.
We're back at Memphis Motorsports Park, and the crowd, boy, it has seen some action today in qualifying as well. Friday and Saturday from that 4:59 by Corey McClenathan to lead the pack. And look at the blistering speed, 318.5 miles an hour down to Jim Head, number 8. Then Eddie Hill kicks off number 9 at a 4.70 down to Mike Smith's 5.05. The intriguing thing to note, look at number 14, Doug Herbert. All 14 cars 300 miles an hour plus. Incredible. Here are the pairings as they lined up for round 1. As, of course, number 1 runs number 16. You see the others, Head against Hill, Bernstein racing Vandergrift, and Mike Dunn challenged Bruce Sarver. The other half of the ladder, Gary Scelzi, the number 2 qualifier, taking on Terry Mullins. Mullins' debut performance in Top Fuel. There are the remainder of the pairings in round number 1 of Top Fuel Eliminator. Prior to the action, Bill Stevens had a chance to take a look at Eddie Hill's Pennzoil dragster.
During Eddie Hill's last qualifying pass yesterday, he had a pretty frightening moment as the front end of the Pennzoil dragster started going skyward just off the starting line, and he almost had another one of those blowovers that he's become somewhat familiar with. He saved the car. Car wasn't damaged. Ready to go into round number 1. Now, after that pass, Ursi Hill told me that, well, she's got to take the hit for what happened. She miscalculated the amount of weight, the front of the car, because she didn't figure that they had a brand new motor in the car and it was going to make a little bit more horsepower. But all's well that ends well. Eddie will be heading into round number 1, qualified 9th with a 470 against the number 8 qualifier, Jim Head. He's also the U.S. Nationals champion from just about a month ago.
And that's the first pair of cars we'll see when we take a look back at round number 1 of Top Fuel Eliminator. It was Eddie Hill in the far lane, Jim Head in the near lane. And a close race at the finish line, a 4.69 win for Head, upsetting Eddie Hill's quicker 4.66.
Jim Head heads into round 2, and your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to try to stop Corey Mack, probably.
Well, we're going to have to get by Corey Mack for sure next round, and I'm just glad that God gave us a chance, because we feel pretty good about this. I don't know what it ran, but it felt okay. I don't think it's...
You ran a 69 to Eddie's 66. You're not supposed to do that to the sponsor's car.
Well, I'll tell you, I told the boys that Eddie's going to throw a 66 on us, and whew, thank you. Wow.
Next pair, it was Jimmy Brock, the crew chief on Joe Amato's car, positioning his driver where he wants him. The 5-time Winston champ was challenging Shelly Anderson in the Parts America machine. We were on board with Shelly when problems started for both drivers. Look at Amato. He was all over the track. Shelly on and off the throttle until finally she kicked the rods out of it, but she won the race. A 5:51 at over 2:61. Take a look at this one in real time. Things happen fast in Top Fuel racing. Amato saved it, but Shelly with heavy engine damage.
Joe, that's a tough one when all you got to do is go down the racetrack.
That's the way racing is, though. You know, just we struggled a little bit in qualifying, and we didn't get a real good feel for the track, and to try to step it up just a little bit. You know, this is a good car. You never know what they can run, and just taking one at a time, and that wasn't the one we were going to win. But
do you now turn into a Shelly Anderson fan? Because she may have Scelzi next round.
Well, you know, at this point, it's getting a little late in the season to be worrying about that. But, you know, we'll hope she can do good. These girls are usually pretty lucky against us guys for some reason.
Scott Coletta of hopes that the female luck runs out, but here in round number 1, his opponent, Rhonda Hartman, the Hartman Enterprises machine, in the far lane up against the American International Airways car. Rhonda had her hands full at mid-track as the car skated on her. 4:73, the winning time at over 3:02. Then it was Big Red, the Bud King, Kenny Bernstein. The far lane, Bob Vandergrift Jr. in the Jerseys machine. Vandergrift hazed the tires, then went into a wheel stand. Bernstein, 4:68 at 313 miles an hour.
You, sir, are coming to the racetrack with a smile on your face again.
Yeah, it's fun to be back out here. It's been fun anyway, but when you're running good and having some fun with it, it's a lot more fun. And just can't say enough for the Bud King and Prolong Mac Tools. These people, they do a great job, and our team's working hard. We're just trying to do it. Fans, we love you.
The chemistry has really come together in a hurry.
Well, it's doing well, and we had good chemistry with Dale too, but this is doing well.
Dale Armstrong, of course, the former crew chief on the Kenny Bernstein car. Mike Smith was the 16th qualifier. He made the field, but the bad news is he had to run number 1. Corey McLenithan, the new track record holder. Smith could not get off the starting line, and Corey Mack had nothing but problems. Still won the round, though, with a 4:95.
You, sir, are lucky that Mike Smith had problems on the other side.
Yeah, it's just one of those deals. Sometimes it's your day, and so far it's our day. We'll just have to wait and fix whatever the problem was. We'll go back for the second round. I guess we got Jim Head, so.
One thing about this team, though, you started running well, and your luck has improved also.
Yeah, well, you know, it kind of goes hand in hand. Seems like when the car starts running good, the driver starts doing good, and just everything has come all around for us. Thanks.
Back in round 1, Bill Stevens had a chance to look at one of the competitors in our next pair of Top Fuel dragsters.
When you take a look at the list of drivers competing in Top Fuel in 1997, you see a lot of names of guys who got their start in the alcohol-powered ranks. Joe Amato, Corey Mack, Scott Kalita. Add another name to that list, Terry Mullins, who had a lot of success campaigning an alcohol-powered funny car in Division II in the sportsman ranks. Well, this year, he's made the jump to Top Fuel, and his car may look familiar. This is the ex-Nuclear Banana that was driven by Eddie Hill. They've done well this weekend. They've qualified number 14. Oh, yeah, there's another component to this team that may look familiar and used to be part of Eddie Hill's operation. That's Fuzzy Carter. He's tuning for Terry Mullins. And in the first round, well, they'll take on the number 2 qualifier and perhaps the 1997 Winston champ in the category, Gary Selsey.
Selsey himself, a graduate of the alcohol ranks, the Federal Mogul dragster driver moving over to Top Fuel this season, driving the Team Winston car owned by the Johnson family. Hill went up in smoke, or rather Terry Mullins went up in smoke, while Gary Selsey went to the finish line at a 4:64 at 312 miles an hour. Next pair of cars in round number 1 pitted the Snap-on Tools machine of Doug Herbert against Larry Dixon. Herbert was the 14th qualifier. Dixon was number 3, and there's why. 4:68, the winning time at over 317 miles an hour.
Larry, what's with the speed? 316 that time.
What can I say? I mean, the guys have been working their tails off to get the Miller Lite running good. All right, Doug. And, man, I'm just hanging on. It's a fun ride, I can tell you that much.
Actually, I lied. It was 316 before. It was 317 this time.
Oh, there you go, personal best.
Personal best for Larry Dixon. Here, the final pair in round number 1. Bruce Sarver in the CarQuest machine in the far lane. Mike Dunn, former champion here at Memphis Motorsports Park, driving the Mopar dragster of Darrell Gwynn. Down the center of the lane to a 4:66 elapsed time at 310 miles an hour. And that advanced Mike Dunn into round number 2, racing in Top Fuel Eliminator. Who races who? Well, here are the pairings. Jim Head up against Corey Mack, while Kenny Bernstein will be challenged by Dunn. The other half of the ladder finds Gary Selsey against Shelley Anderson, while Larry Dixon and Scott Kalita collide in round number 2. Now, let's go down to the pits, catch up with Alan Reinhart, find out what's happening.
As the McDonald's team gets ready for their second round matchup, it's with a new bullet between the frame rails. They destroyed the motor in round number 1 in the victory over Mike Smith when they only went 495. Now in round 2, they've got to run Jim Head in a close call team. And don't forget, all year long, Jim has been getting tuning assistance from Alan Johnson. Alan obviously wants this car out. He wants to extend his points lead with his driver, Gary Selzy. So as these guys prepare to get ready for Jim, they've got to make sure every detail in this new motor is perfect.
Tuesday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The Mississippi River and the Memphis skyline. We're coming back to Memphis Motorsports Park. Don't go away.
I don't.
Drag racing purists, bothered by occasional bouts of team tactics, had their faith reaffirmed last week at Topeka when the identical Castrol Mustangs of John Force and Tony Pedregon squared off in the semifinals. And instead of a preordained outcome, the Untouchables put on what may have been the greatest funny car race ever. Side-by-side 494s and a national speed record for the boss. They were pleased, but spare a moment for Whit Bazemore, whose slim title hopes are truly over. Or Chuck Etchells, who can run in the 4s at over 300, but can't seem to ever get break 1. The point standings find Tony breathing down Chuck's neck for the show position, while the second 5 is still a round-by-round scramble between the consistently inconsistent. Back at Memphis Motorsports Park, let's take a look at the way they qualified in funny car competition. As you saw earlier, Randy Anderson, number 1 at a 496. The top 8, Dean Scusa, a very tough 502. The bottom half of the field, number 9 qualifier Ron Capps. Look at his time, 502. All the way down to the bump spot. Very serious. Gary Dencham at a 517. That Whit Bazemore run was a 518. He was in the number 17 spot. Here are the pairings for round number 1. Take a look and mark where your favorite is. Can he advance? Who knows? The other side of the ladder, it was Tony Pedregon, number 2, up against Wyatt Radke. And the remainder of the field, this is the way they were paired in round number 1. Let's begin to take a look at the action and kick things off with Cruz Pedregon in the McDonald's machine against the Moon Eyes car driven by Kenji Okazaki. Earlier, Kenji this season had won the Big Bud Shootout and took home the $100,000 prize from Budweiser. That was at Indianapolis. Here the prize was a big cloud of tire smoke as Cruz Pedregon at a 526 may have been a little bit vulnerable, but he still won and advanced to round 2.
Cruiser, I'm not sure you should have won that one.
Well, something broke out there. I had to paddle it, but something broke. I don't know if I tossed the blower belt, but, you know, that's the way it goes. Sometimes you get the break. Car's a 4-second car. Hopefully we can get a break like that and go on and try to win some rounds here.
How's the driver?
I'm good. I'm definitely sore, but, you know, I need to survive this day, and then I'm just happy to be here, but we'll be okay for Dallas.
Sore, of course, because of the emergency appendectomy earlier this week. This is Jim Blake. He had a tough break in round number 1. The car broke right on the burnout. They had to push it back. That gave Tim Wilkerson a single run in the John Costanza Institute of Technology machine. Wilkerson smoked the tires, but didn't matter. Nobody was in the other lane. He coasted through at a 7-second flat to move to round number 2. Our next pair brought up the guy that had set everybody on their ear with that 496 qualifying time. Randy Anderson in the Parts America Pontiac was in the near lane. His opponent, Gary Dencham in the Dodge Avenger. This is round number 1 earlier today here in the Pennzoil National. The cloud of smoke behind Randy Anderson gave Gary Dencham the advantage on a great run. 5:06, the winning time.
I don't know, Randy. I guess from now on you just never qualify number 1?
It's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah, it's hard loss. You know, we're into the season. We need to go some rounds. And, you know, we come in here feeling pretty good today and another big, you know, big loss. And this one's hard.
Did you change anything? Malfunction? What?
You know, I don't know that. You know, I just try to drive the thing, and I don't know the tune-up. And you know, the guys did an excellent job this week, and they did their best. But it's still a hard loss.
Obviously disappointed.
Tony Pedregon in the Castrol Mustang had qualified number 2 at a 498. On paper, it gave him a big advantage over Wyatt Radke. But in round number 1, Radke was almost more than Pedregon expected. Pedregon won it at a 513. Radke had the same problem that Jim Blake did in qualifying. Kicked the rods out of it after the finish line. Had him a bit of a fire as he came around the bend at the far end of the racetrack. But Pedregon, the winner, with a 5:13.
Wyatt, what do you guys got to do to get a break?
I don't know. You know, it's so nice to be back out here doing this again. And I mean, Ed's been sticking by us. You know, these couple races, things been running real good. And I don't know what happened just there. But, you know, you figure you got to run hard, and you got to be a respected car, you got to beat a respected car. And I really thought we had a shot right there with Tony. Things seem to be running pretty good. But once again, window had been on fire. Hopefully he can fix it.
Wyatt Radke, a tough break. He ran 5:16 earlier. Bill took a look at the next pair of funny cars.
A couple of history-making drivers squaring off in round one of funny car. Chuck Etchells, the first driver to go into the fours in the Kendall GT1 car, has qualified well. In fact, strung together 5 great 5-0 passes during qualifying. And his first-round opponent, Jim Epler, the first funny car driver to go over 300 miles an hour. He qualified well with a 5:08, and surprisingly, that 5:08 is a career best for Jim Epler. So here in round one, a couple of future Hall of Famers going head-to-head.
Jim Epler driving the car of the Easy Care Rug Doctor sponsorship, and of course that car owned and tuned by Paul Smith. Paul is proving again that he's one of the more talented tuners in the business. This was a great race. Etchells at a 5:09. Epler finally lifted just before the finish line to a 5:44. But Chuck Etchells used that great 5:09 at over 300 to go to round number 2. Next pair of cars, the resurging Al Hoffman. He had qualified in the number 6 spot. His opponent here was Del Worsham. Checker, Shucks, and Craig, an Avenger. Up in smoke went Worsham. Look at Hoffman, 5:01 and a very conservative 2:78.
Al, 5:01, nice solid lap, no speed. Are you getting a little gun shy on this end?
Nah, it ain't gun shy. I only got one body here. And, I mean, when things move them that hard, if they can beat us with an oath, then they need to beat us. But I can't take a chance on running this thing through the lights.
Just budget conscious.
The next pair brought the other Castrol Mustang up against the In-N-Out Burger machine. It was Mark Oswald against John Force, and this crowd was on its feet to watch Force strut his stuff. Up in smoke went Oswald, Force to the finish line. A new track record, both ends of it, 4:93, and a new national speed mark, 3:14.
John, you just went 314 miles an hour in a car I heard that didn't have any brakes.
No, it had brakes. They were just squeaking. Cole asked me how I can hear that stuff. I hear weird things that aren't usually there, but see, my old Mustang, she thinks she's a dragster. Don't know no difference.
That 493 yesterday would have got you $4 grand.
Oh, it ran 93? Oh, I didn't know that.
Would I lie to you?
No. I'm just a little bit off today.
Have no earthly idea what he's talking about, but he is the fastest funny car driver in the world. Here's Ron Capps in the far lane. The Team Copenhagen Camaro. Dean Scusa and his Matco Tools machine fell behind very early, and Capps at 499 and 306 miles an hour goes to round 2.
What, you goof off in qualifying, then run 499 in the first round?
You kidding me? 499? That was the smoothest run. We didn't have lane choice, and boy, how about the Copenhagen guys? 499.
We've heard a lot of people say there's no difference in lanes out there. I think you proved that.
Chris Pook, man, he came to the lanes yesterday, and I won the inaugural race in St. Louis, and the guy has visions, and he came in here, put a new pad in. I can't say enough about this place. I love Memphis. Elvis, I'm here to stay, man.
Chris Pook is the guy that owns this place.
And it is Ron Capps going to the next round, where he'll race Gary Densham. Cruz Pedregon comes up against Chuck Etchells. The other side of the ladder, John Force and Tony Pedregon again. The teammates duke it out. Tim Wilkerson racing Al Hoffman. We'll see all the action in round 2 in just a bit. Stick around.
Boy, talk about first-round upsets. How about number 16 qualifier Gary Densham in the NEC car, taking out number 1 qualifier Randy Anderson. But all the news not good. After that run, the crew is having to replace the engine in the car. Why? Because of the clutch. Here's the clutch that was in the car, and if you can see right here, that's a clutch lever. That snapped at about 1,000 feet, threw the clutch out of balance and took out the rear main seal in the engine. That's why Richard Bays and the rest of his crew having to put in a new bullet. But they'll be ready for the second round matchup, and they'd better be ready. It'll be against Ron Capps in a strong-running Copenhagen Camaro car.
Did you know this? That Bob Glidden appeared in the 100th final round of his Pro Stock career at this event way back in 1989. Doing so, he earned his 71st victory.
The Jerry Bickle-tuned and Jim Yates-driven McDonald's Pontiac is putting many doubters in their place, having won 4 of the last 7 events. So the interest is now in the remaining places in the Winston point standings. Kurt Johnson must be praying to get on the other side of the ladder from his father Warren so he can have a clear shot at closing their gap of less than 40 points. Steve Schmidt needs some race day success to go with his horsepower if he wants to close the gap to Bruce Allen. And in the closest battle of all, 1996 Rookie of the Year Mike Edwards and his former boss George Marnell are 1 round apart in points, with Tom Martino as the filling in between. With only 4 races remaining, each and every point translates to crucial cash between now and November.
Before we get to round number 1 of Pro Stock Racing here at Memphis Motorsports Park, here's the way they qualified. From Kurt Johnson, 696 at the top of the list, to Mark Powick rounding out the top 8 at a 7 flat. The bottom half of the field, George Marnell with a 7 flat, all the way down to Steve Schmidt, 702. 0.06 of a second separate number 1 from 16, and that's who has to race in round 1, of course. Kurt Johnson against Schmidt. There's the rest of the top half of the ladder. The bottom half, starting with the number 2 qualifier, Mike Bell, goes all the way down with Allen Racing Iaconio. To kick things off, it was the number 8 and 9 cars in qualifying that met first in round number 1. Mark Powick driving his Summit Racing Pontiac up against the Marnell and Black Pontiac. Mark Powick qualified number 8. That earned him the lane choice, and for our quicker qualified cars in all of our categories, the lane of choice has been the left-hand or near side of the track. Didn't pay off for Mark Powick, though, as George Marnell ran 706 to Mark Powick's quicker 704. And Marnell will pick himself up $500 in bonus cash by virtue of winning with a slower elapsed time, and that, of course, the money coming from Slick 50. Tom Martino, the Mama Rosa's Pizza car, against the Dodge Boyd Darrell Alderman. We're on board. Pushing the button to change the gears. Alderman had qualified 10th, and another big upset. 702, the winning time, 705 for Martino.
Darrell, I know you're not feeling well. Does that affect your concentration?
No, I seem to be all right. It's just a little earache, all it is.
702, that's not bad.
No, that was a pretty good run in that right-hand lane, going over the bumps and all.
How much difference lane to lane?
It's just a lot smoother over in the left. I'd say if you make a good run in the left-hand lane, it ought to be a couple hundredths anyway.
Well, the other Dodge boy was up in the next pair. Scott Jeffrey had qualified 15th. Mike Bell in the Troy Humphreys Superior Heating and Air Conditioning car had qualified number 2, had a great 4:11 reaction time in the first round, ran 7:02 to beat Scott Jeffreyon's trailing 7:04. Earlier, Bill had a chance to take a look at the action of Kurt Johnson.
Kurt Johnson is the #1 qualifier in Pro Stock here in Memphis by virtue of a 696-197 that he ran Friday night. But in the next 2 daytime qualifying sessions, the car actually slowed down. In fact, in his last qualifying pass, he popped a wheelie and the car kind of struggled down the drag strip. Kurt says he thinks the engine flooded out a little bit, and that's what killed their ET. His first round opponent here in Memphis will be Steve Schmidt, the guy who grabbed the bump, qualifying number 16. Kurt says, I don't think I'll have too much trouble with Steve as long as I can convince my car that we're running at night.
Might be a little tough to do because the sun's been out all day long here at Memphis Motorsports Park. While it is warm, not uncomfortable, the racers seem to be enjoying it, and so do the race cars. Oh, Kurt Johnson headed right for the center line in round number 1. He had the lift in the upset of the weekend. Steve Schmidt, number 16, beats number 1.
What happened?
I was on an absolutely perfect run. You know, we've been having problems in the heat of the day out here, losing traction, spinning, but first and second gear was absolutely flawless, and I was headed for the finish line. I put it in third, and man, it just came around on me, went to the right, almost hit the cone at half track, and obviously 1,250 horsepower, you better get out of it, but it was ugly, man. It was a perfect run, and Shame to lose that way.
It's only the second time this year he's lost in the first round.
Tough to lose in any round or lose anyway. Next pair, Bruce Allen, the first in the sixes with the Slick 50 Pontiac 6-second zone here at Memphis Motorsports Park. His opponent, Frank Iaconio, driving the Barry Grant Oldsmobile BG Fuel Systems car. Right there when Bruce Allen crossed the finish line first at a 7 flat at 197, 7:05, the losing time by Frank Iaconio. Interesting story in the next pair of cars. Mark Osborne, #1 qualifier at Topeka in Dick Sherman's car, was the 14th qualifier here. He was placed in the far lane by Mike Thomas, who had qualified third in the come-out car. The Osborne machine has a Mike Thomas power plant under the hood. Guess who won? Mark Osborne, 7:03 to a losing 7:05. Earlier, Bill had a chance to take a look at our next competitor.
He's 6 feet 10 inches tall, played his college ball at Clemson, and was the winner of the 1984 NBA Slam Dunk Competition. He's making his pro stock debut in 1997. It's, of course, Larry Nance. Larry has qualified 5 times for an NHRA pro stock field this year and has done so here in Memphis, which is pretty impressive when you consider the fact that guys like Troy Coughlin, Ron Krischer, V. Gaines, and Mike Edwards did not make the show. In the first round, Larry will be squaring off against the guy who may be well on his way to the 1997 Winston Championship, Jim Yates. And if he can beat him, well, that would be a tall order indeed.
Oh, the puns were flying fast and furious in round #1, were they not? And yes, folks, Larry Nance can get inside that Oldsmobile Cutlass. McDonald's car of Yates. We've told you already this show, absolutely superlative this season. No exception here in round #1. Low ET of eliminations. 697 at 197. Nance trailing at a 704.
697.
Jim's talking it over with Larry Nance. He almost got you.
He got a big jump on me on the starting line. Them athletes shouldn't be allowed to race pro stock, I don't think.
Got him on the starting line, just didn't quite have enough, Larry.
No, I didn't, but, you know, it was good to race. I raced against the best today, and I had my chances. And, you know, I think I got out there and I hit the button a couple times fast, so just too excited.
Maybe I got him excited, huh?
Quick, Dave, which one of these guys plays basketball?
This one.
Gee, Alan, I don't know. Larry Nance, of course. Now he's a coach, by the way, with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Larry Morgan and Warren Johnson rounded out round #1. It was the Ray Bestis car in the far lane up against Goodwrench Service Plus machine of Warren Johnson in the near lane, and a giant hole shot by Morgan. 7:05 the winning time, 7:01 the losing time. More Slick 50 bonus bucks going Larry Morgan's way. The pairings for round #2. Schmidt, the upset winner in round 1, up against George Marnell. It'll be Larry Morgan, also an upset winner, challenging Jim Yates. Mike Bell takes on Darrell Alderman, while Mark Osborne and Bruce Allen will be the next pair. Alan Reinhart has his story on the rest of pro stock.
When Mark Osborne and the Dick Sherman team decided to go pro stock racing, they're starting out by leasing their engines from Mike Thomas. As it turned out, Mike Thomas qualified 3rd, Mark 14th. They had to run each other in round 1. Well, no team orders coming from the Mike Thomas camp. Osborne won the race, and they're preparing now to take on Bruce Allen in round #2.
Major League Soccer's conference semifinals coming your way. 1 o'clock Eastern time, 10 a.m. Pacific time. That is Sunday and again on Wednesday, 10:30 Eastern time, 7:30 Pacific time. The conference semifinal from Major League Soccer DC United versus New England Revolution. Talk about something revolutionary. It is the Pyramid in Memphis, a famous landmark here. We'll be right back. One driver happy to roll into Tennessee during the stretch run to the Winston Championship is Corey McLenathan, because he has staged a Mack attack on Memphis over the years. 5 seasons ago, racing as an independent and running low on cash, Corey and crew chief Jim Brock came to town and chewed up the opposition, starting with Connie Coletta. Followed by a round 2 close call with the reigning Top Fuel champ Joe Amato. That victory moved Corey onto the semifinals, where he faced up with Don Prudhomme. And when the snake left too early, Corey was into the first final of his career against Michael Brotherton. 4.97 seconds after the green, Corey had the first of his 15 career national event titles and enough prize money to stay on the tour and eventually finish a close second in the Winston points chase. 1 year later, and Corey was the comeback kid, as Memphis was his first event back after suffering severe burns in a crash at Rockingham. An eventual semifinal finish was ample testimony to Corey's courage and may have helped him acquire the seat in the Joe Gibbs-owned McDonald's Fueler that he put onto the pole position during '94 qualifying. 1 year later, amid heat and humidity, Corey marched through the field with a string of low ETs and even survived a drawn-out second-round pro stock-like staging battle with Shelley Anderson along the way to eventually reach the final round where his opponent was Mike Dunn. And just as he had done 3 years earlier, Corey had the horses to chase down his challenger and cap off a day of consistently quick times with a resounding victory. Welcome back to Memphis Motorsports Park. This is the 10th annual running of the Pennzoil Nationals presented by AutoZone. And we're just about ready to go to round number 2 of Top Fuel Eliminator. Before we start, Bill had a chance to look at the first pair of competitors.
Well, right now I'm standing next to Gary Scelzi's team car. I know it looks like Jim Head's close call dragster, but the fact of the matter is that Gary Scelzi's tuner, Alan Johnson, is a close personal friend of Jim Head, and it's no secret that he spends a lot of time helping the close call team out. In the second round of Top Fuel, that may really pay off for Alan Johnson, because Jim will be racing Corey McLenithan, maybe the only driver with a legitimate shot at catching Gary Scelzi in the points. So I'd like to be a fly on the wall to listen to the discussion between Alan Johnson and Jim Head before this round. Probably go something like this. Hey, Jim, if you take out the red car, I'll buy you lunch at McDonald's.
Jim Head and Corey McLenithan. That was the first pair in round number 2. Track conditions practically ideal. It's been a beautiful weekend here at Memphis Motorsports Park. The move of this race from first May, then to June, and now to October has made all the difference in the world in our racing. Jim Head was in the near lane. Corey McLenithan in the far lane. Corey Mack had an early lead but dropped a cylinder. Jim Head took the win, 469 at 312.
Corey, I can't help but think back to Redding when he was in front of you and the belt came off, and this time it was the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. You know, he told me I got lucky, so I guess I can return the favor and tell him he got lucky this time. Just one of those deals where we had him covered and should have beat him, but just tried a little bit too hard. Belt comes off. That happens.
I guess we know who you're rooting for now.
Well, yeah. I mean, his point chase is getting pretty close to being over here pretty quick. It's going to be hard to catch him from here on out if he keeps on going, but we'll just do the best we can. Thanks.
2 second-generation racers were up next in round number 2. Scott Coletta, the son of Connie Coletta, was racing Larry Dixon in the Miller Lite car owned by Don Prudhomme. Dixon, of course, the son of Larry Dixon Sr., former Winter Nationals champion. Dixon had qualified number 3. Scott Coletta had been the number 6 qualifier. That was then, and this is now. Up in smoke went Coletta, and Larry Dixon had a great 471 at 310 to move into the semifinal round.
All of a sudden, Larry Dixon, this car is not only fast, it's consistent.
Man, it's awesome. I mean, I'm just hanging on. We've made, I think, up to like 6 or 7, 8 runs in a row now, going down the racetracks, running phenomenal speed. And, man, I'm just hanging on and having a good time.
Still the 95 car?
Absolutely. I think it finally remembers what it's supposed to do.
It's got like 1 billion runs on it.
He just wants to add 2 more, and he could be the champion here at Memphis. Here's the Bud King. He's going to try to stop everybody in their tracks. Kenny Bernstein, his opponent, is Mike Dunn. Dunn driving the Mopar machine, owned by Darrell Gwynn, was runner-up here in 1995 and is the defending champion, having defeated Joe Amato a year ago, and this time he pulled off a big win. Dunn winning it at a 465, Bernstein 471.
I figured it out. You guys put Ken Venny on a bonus program.
How'd you know? Yeah, we're actually going to pay him is what happened. We knew he was working for free, you know, Darrell, but no, I mean, he's doing a great job. The whole crew's doing a great job. We've changed, you know, there's not just one thing we've changed. We've changed a lot of things. We've been testing a lot, and the old Mopar's starting to run. That was a real good run. It was, you know, nose over real bad before the lights. Otherwise, it would have been good, and I was looking over for Kenny. He came right by in the finish, and, you know, he's tough. Kenny's always a tough one.
Are you going to tell me what you changed, or are you going to pull that I'm just a stupid driver?
Well, just look at me. I mean, does this look like a genius here?
Well, Bernstein ran 471 at 311, but could not catch the fleet Mike Dunn. Here's Gary Selsey and the Team Winston car up against Shelly Anderson. The entire Anderson crew, with Larry Meyer, the crew chief, worked long and hard to get this car back together after that engine explosion in round number 1. Here in the second round, she fared a little bit better, but on our ride with Shelly, you saw Gary Selsey pull ahead to a great 462 at 314.
Put me inside your helmet when Corey Mack went out.
I'll tell you what, I didn't want to get too happy because these things are too hard to win. And I'm going to tell you, Shelly and the Haviland team, that's a heck of a team over there. And Team Winston's just trying to stay alive. It'd mean nothing if we didn't win this round, and we really need to win this race. So Team Winston's going to the semis, but I'm going to tell you, it is not easy.
Pressure beginning to mount as the points are becoming all important. Jim Head will be racing Mike Dunn head-to-head in round number 3, the semifinals, while Gary Selsey takes on thus far a winless Larry Dixon. That's our semifinal pair. Right now, let's go down and join Bill Stevens.
Well, Mike Dunn may be putting Ken Venny on a bonus program, but I think Wes Cerny is working on a big severance pay. As you probably know, Dale Armstrong will be the crew chief on this car next year, but Wes Cerny's going out in a blaze of glory. This car is straight out of NASA lately. Larry Dixon goes through round 1, and Doug Herbert goes through round 2, and Scott Kalita coming up. Well, the juggernaut may end. He'll be racing that tough Gary Selsey in the Winston car. Let's get on to Alan Reinhart.
Another car that was kind of quiet at the beginning of the season, the Team Mopar gang has really been showing some signs of life. Don't forget, they debuted a new car a few races ago. They've been doing a lot of testing. Mike Dunn, the driver, the team manager, Jerry Gwynn, and, of course, Ken Venny, the crew chief. Now, Ken's one of those guys that's kind of quiet, kind of shy, doesn't say a lot, but he is always thinking they have finally got the engine combination, the clutch combination, and the brand-new car all together. Mac?
Whoa. We'll be seeing that semifinal round of racing in just a little while. And what pairings we have. We'll be back in a moment.
They may be known as funny cars, but the funny thing is, the guys that drive these machines, they think it's a war. Round 2 in the battle for Memphis coming up next.
Is the Welcome back to Memphis Motorsports Park, and this, the 10th Annual Pennzoil Nationals. Along with Bill Stevens and Alan Reinhart, I'm Dave McClellan. We're here along with you for some great racing action. But first, I want to tell you about some great hockey action. NHL, Dallas Stars versus the Detroit Red Wings. This coming Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. It'll be coming your way on ESPN2 from Detroit, Michigan. Now, let's take a look back earlier today to round number 2 of funny car competition. The first pair of cars, Chuck Etchells and Cruz Pendragon. The McDonald's machine with a crew chief change following the race last weekend. Mike Green, the crew chief on the top fuel dragster, driven by Corey McLenathan out of Joe Gibbs' McDonald's teams, kind of overseeing the tune-up. But as Mike says, it's the crew that does the work. Chuck Etchells, Kendall GT1 Super Winch car, failing at the starting line. Pendragon going to a 5:28 elapsed time at 276 miles an hour. He's into the semifinals.
What did you do with that 4-second race car you had yesterday?
Well, it's coming loose out there, and I think it's weak because it's going into a shake. I'm pedaling, but it's dropping cylinders out there. But I wanted to high-five and hug people, but I'm afraid something's going to fall out of my gut here. But we'll be all right.
That's the first time all weekend he said he felt anything.
Still seems to be somewhat happy and reasonably mobile, but of course he's strapped in tight inside that funny car. Here's Al Hoffman, the all-white Pontiac out of Classic Chevy International, up against the Tim Wilkerson-driven John Costanza Institute of Technology car. Can Hoffman pull off another big win? It's been a long time since Gainesville when he won the race and crashed in the process. Wilkerson crosses the center line, and Hoffman, look at the time, 5 flat at over 305 miles an hour.
Al, that time you could have shut off early, and you drove it until the header fell off.
Yeah, we just wanted to see what to do. You know, I think a lot of people are thinking I'm just not ready to run it down the other end, but that ain't. You know, I mean, we got one body, and we got to take care of it.
Good lap, though, 5 flat.
Yeah, I expected it to run a little bit better, but in the heat of the day, we'll take it.
Earlier, here's Bill.
This is the matchup that all the peanuts in the gallery have been waiting for. John Force and Tony Pedregon in round 2 of Funny Car. Remember last week in Topeka, semifinals, Force and Pedregon, identical 494s. John Force setting a new top speed record over 313 miles an hour. In round 1, 493, and he set a new top speed record again. Just a couple of minutes ago, John shared something with me rather interesting. He said Austin has a proverb that describes the two-car concept. Confucius say man with one watch knows what time it is. Man with two watches can only guess.
It became obvious that Tony Pedregon and John Force were going to race each other in round number 2. The speculation started here at Memphis Motorsports Park. Would we see another of those unbelievable races as we saw at Topeka a week ago? Well, the answer came here in round number 2. You watch what happened. It was Force by more than a car length, 495 at 312, 511 for Tony Pedregon at 300.
I can't help but have a flashback. You're going to race Al Hoffman, and it really started to look like he may be back.
Well, yeah, he's running real good. They told me on the radio there we backed up that speed record, 314, so that was good. Just hate racing against my own teammate. Tony Card running good enough here to win, and he's trying to move up on Etchells. In the Castro Mustang, we're trying to move up on the national record and lock up this championship. But both cars are working real well together, and we're just really excited. We'll give Hoffman a race, guaranteed.
One more pair was left in round number 2. Ron Capps up against this car, the NEC AAA machine of Gary Densham. Capps, of course, driving Don Prudhomme's Team Copenhagen Camaro, the only Chevrolet-bodied car in funny car competition today. Up in smoke went Densham at half-track. Capps went 507 at 300 to advance to the semis.
You know, if it hadn't been for John Force's run, I'd say it wasn't as good out there as it was earlier. But what happened to yours?
What'd it run?
07.
It's all right. It rattled pretty good, and they put a hole out. You can usually tell on these things because it makes about a 7-foot move to the left or the right. And I'm telling you, driving one of these things is like the best rock and roll song going down the road in your car. You just crank it up, and it's just, you want to sing. It's great, man.
Does he look like he's having fun or what?
Sure looks like he likes what he's doing, that's for sure. The pairings in the semifinal round of competition. Ron Capps against Cruz Pedregon has won twice this season, while the Cruiser's got one win. The other half of the ladder, John Force against Al Hoffman, one of the classic battles of all time. Here's Bill Stevens.
Well, has Al Hoffman had an interesting year? In a word, yes. You know about Gainesville, he won the race and almost killed himself. Last week, he went 495 in Topeka and burned the car. Well, this week, Jimbo Ermilovich, his crew chief, was down on Beale Street here in Memphis, went into a little voodoo shop and found a bottle of Jinx removing oil. They say they sprinkled it on the car. What happened? Al qualified 6th. He got through the first round. He got through the second round. And now he is getting to the matchup that he's been dreaming of for such a long, long time, his opportunity to take on John Force. This is going to be fun. Let's go to Alan.
Cruz Pedregon may not be feeling real well, but he still has certain responsibilities, like getting in the car when they warm it up, as they have just done here. Cruz also normally takes care of the fuel. Since he can't do any lifting because of the surgery that he had last week, he's been getting some help with that. He's checking the mixtures and taking care of his part of the responsibilities. He's just getting some help with the physical stuff. When it comes to the driving, though, Cruz has been doing just fine. Mac?
2 great live reports from the pit area here in Memphis Motorsports Park. And no, this isn't Mark Twain. It's a modern-day riverboat on the Mississippi here at Memphis. Stick around. We're coming right back. Welcome back to Memphis Motorsports Park and the Pennzoil Nationals presented by AutoZone. You're looking at a live picture of a big crowd jammed into this racetrack. Earlier today, we had round number 2 of Pro Stock racing those factory hot rods, and kicking off the action, George Marnell and Steve Schmidt. Of course, Schmidt made it to round 2 by virtue of his upset win over the top qualifier. That came in round number 1. Kurt Johnson had problems. The car drifted towards the center line, and he had to lift. Marnell with a quicker elapsed time win in round number 1. Had the opportunity to pick his lane, and he used it to his advantage, running 7:06 at 195 miles an hour.
George gets congratulated, but you needed that if you have any hope at all of catching Steve for 5th.
Oh, I know it. He's tough. What can I say? I mean, I don't know if there's a chance to catch him or not, but we're going to give it our best. That's all I can say. Bob Cave did a wonderful job. Bob Engel's doing a great job on the motors. We're just doing what we can do.
Earlier, here's Allen.
Every Pro Stock car has a wheelie bar. You have to have to control the car on the starting line. But Darrell Alderman's brand new Jerry Bickle car has got kind of half a wheelie bar. It only has one wheel on it. Most of the crew chiefs in Pro Stock will set the 2 wheel bars where one is higher than the other, so when the car gets on the wheelie bar, it has a tendency to drive the car straight on the racetrack. Craig Hansen's the crew chief on this car, feels that if the 4-link is right, the car's always going to go straight. So you only need one wheel back here to keep it from doing wheel stands. Now, this is about 5 pounds lighter than a 2-wheel wheelie bar, and 5 pounds may not sound like much, but on a Pro Stock car, 5 pounds in the front instead of 5 pounds hanging off the back, it's a big difference.
Darrell Alderman, one of the competitors in our next pair of cars in round number 2. Don't forget, this was new a week ago. That car, Jerry Bickle chassied Mopar Dodge Avenger, his opponent, a former Warren Johnson Jerry Haas car with a Jerry Bickle back half. Can you keep up with all of it? That was Mike Bell having problems right off the starting line. Darrell Alderman had an easy go, but ran 7:09 at 196 miles an hour, earache and all. Here's Darrell.
Well, that was easy.
Well, Mike Bell's a good driver. Troy Humphrey's got a good team there now, and we're just fortunate that we got that win. I know my car shook real bad. I was probably off on my AT, so... you know.
One of the things with these new cars is that you're still learning a lot every round.
Yeah, I think it's good promise for them to be running this quick, this early. I think, you know, on down the road, we're just going to get better and better with them. So, you know, it really looks good for the Dodge boys.
Pair of Pontiacs met up in round number 2. It was Mark Osborne, the number 14 qualifier. He upset Mike Thomas in the first round when the two, using the same engine out of Mike Thomas stables, went at it head-to-head, and Osborne came out on top. His opponent, the Slick 50 machine, Bruce Allen. Look at Allen out over the center line. He had to lift as Osborne went to the finish, and in a elapsed time of 7.07 seconds.
Well, Mark, you got a little loose. You got the win light and lane choice. You got to love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah, you know, this car's really been running good for us, and we just look forward to this next round. Hopefully we can get us a final here.
You're not in the points. You're not in anything. You're just having some fun and learning for next year.
Yeah, there's a lot to be learned out here in this Pro Stock, and we're looking forward to next year as well as we're running now.
Mark Osborne has won once on the National Event Trail. At the end of that season, he sold everything he had and has been in retirement up until a couple of 3 weeks ago when Dick Sherman called him back to drive his car. Jim Yates and the McDonald's Pontiac. Quick time in round number 1. Selected the lane nearest to the camera here in the second round of racing. His opponent was the Ray Bestis Pontiac of Larry Morgan. They battled it out tooth and nail until Yates got the win. 7:02 at 196 miles an hour.
That was a close one.
I didn't even have to tell you that.
Man, I tell you, it was real close out there. You know, Larry got a whole shot on me on the starting line, and then I was going through the middle of second and third gear, and the track is real greasy, and the car just moving back and forth just a little bit. I was just trying to keep her down the center of the track and get the win light.
Margin of victory in that race was 0.06 of a second, but it went to Jim Yates. That'll put him in against George Marnell in the semifinal round in their head-to-head competition. One win going to Yates this year. Darrell Alderman and Mark Osborne have not raced at all this season. They'll be running here in round number 3. Let's go down to the pit area. And live, here is Alan Reinhardt.
Well, we were going to come by and take a closer look at Darrell's car. As you can tell by that two-wheeled wheelie bar, this is Scott's. One thing about the Dodge boys, keep in mind that Warren Johnson has run 3 or 4 cars this year. The Dodge boys were still driving the same cars that they had back in 1994. Now, Scott's car is brand new this weekend. Darrell's car was new 1 race ago. So they've got the new 97 Avengers out here. They're still learning. They're making some progress with these cars. We wanted to show you Darrell's, as I said, but as he gets prepared for the semifinal round matchup, they had to take it down to the scales to double-check the weight. So we looked at Scott's instead. They're twins except for the paint. Bill Stevens?
This car is a time bomb. One of these days, George Marnell in this automobile is going to win a national event. It might be this weekend. It's got a great team. Bob Engel's power, Bob Cave, the crew chief, and of course, George, he's a pretty good driver in his own right. He's in the Holly 6-second club for Pro Stocks, and in the second round today, he beat Steve Schmidt on a hole shot. So he's going to face Jim Yates in the semifinals, but mark my words, Jim Yates isn't on his game. George Marnell's going to eat his lunch. Mac?
Well, we'll be waiting to see what happens in Pro Stock semifinals. They'll be coming up in just a few moments. Right now, the crowd here at Memphis enjoying the talents and skills of Mark Schlater as he brings the American flag to earth. They have a strong resemblance to the cars you see on the street every day. But these are sophisticated 200-mile-an-hour race machines. These are the NHRA Pro Stockers. And from personal experience, I can tell you they are a blast to drive. We're at Memphis Motorsports Park for our ESPN2 Speed World coverage of this, the 10th annual Pennzoil Nationals. Semi-final round, Pro Stock Eliminator, Mark Osborne and Darrell Alderman. Osborne making a rather auspicious return to NHRA Pro Stock competition. The car owned by Dick Sherman. This is the former Orndorff and Ekman machine. Sherman bought it, got himself a power plant from Mike Thomas, and put Mark Osborne behind the wheel. Can Darrell Alderman continue in his winning ways in Pro Stock with this 2-week-old Dodge Avenger? Osborne had the advantage at the start in the better numbers, a 707 at 195 to a losing 736 at 156. Osborne to the finals. His opponent will be one of these two racers, Jim Yates or George Marnell. Yates, after the top 3 qualifiers went out of competition, has been the class of this field, both in elapsed time, reaction times, and in wins. He ran 7:02 in round number 2 when he beat Larry Morgan. George Marnell went 7:06, the quicker winning time by Yates. Gave him the lane choice, and it put him here in the lane nearest the camera. But look at Marnell. He challenged him all the way down the racetrack, 698 to a losing 705. Now, let's go back down to the pit area. And here, once again, Alan Reinhardt.
Well, we came by to check in on Jim Yates, who's going into his 11th final round, looking for his 8th win of the season. Found something we have never found before. Jim is working on the race car. What are you doing?
Track got a little better after that last run. We're going to add some clutch to it, see if we can run us a 696 or so out there.
You think it'll take a 96 to win, or are you just racing the racetrack?
We're going to try and race the racetrack. You know, Mark's a real good driver, so we're going to have to get all we can get out there. We're going to try and go as fast as we can go and get off the start line on time and get this McDonald's car another win.
I can't remember ever seeing you with wrenches in your hand. It looks kind of like Bob Fry with wrenches in his hand.
It's a dangerous sight, isn't it? But, you know, we're running real good today, so they figure they let me screw around with the car a little bit.
Well, there is one guy standing in between Jim and his 8th winner circle. That guy's standing with Bill Stevens.
And it's Mark Osborne right here. Let me see. Before the weekend, this was the plan. We'll qualify 14th and then win the race.
Well, that's a little far-fetched, but we're just trying to do the best we can do out here.
Well, they pay me to ask the tough questions. Were you getting a little hot water there by beating the guy who you lease your engines from in round 1?
No, I talked to the engine guys back at the shop, you know, and they're pumped up on their motors, doing well. And, you know, Mike's running great. Mike's a super person, and if it wasn't for Mike Thomas, our well-being wouldn't be where we're at today, believe me.
Last week, you came back, come into Topeka, started knocking the Christmas tree down. You been practicing in the interim here?
No, I've been racing a little motocross on the off season and getting out of the starting gate there, and that's the only way I can usually get in front, and just trying to carry it over here.
You know, Jim Yates' weak link this year has been at the starting line. Mark Osborne might pick his pocket. Mac?
And we have seen that happen a lot of times this year for every Pro Stock racer. Here's the head-to-head pairing as they go into the final round. It's Jim Yates against Mark Osborne. And as we anticipated, they have not met this season. Of course, Mark's only been back. This is the 3rd race. Want to remind you of some more action coming your way on ESPN. It's NFL Prime Monday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 Pacific Time. All the action in the NFL is yours on ESPN. We've got lots of action here at Memphis Motorsports Park coming your way as well. Did you know this? The brothers Cruz and Tony Pedregon had their first ever side-by-side meeting in eliminations. Back in the 1996 semis, Tony won that one.
John Force is a renowned Elvis Presley fan. But Amazing Grace, not Graceland, is probably the first thing on the 6-time Winston Champ's mind whenever he rolls into the Mid-South. It was just 5 years ago that John survived one of the scariest rides in drag racing history during the semifinals. Force was driving away from Al Hoffman when his engine let go in the speed traps. Al came around for the win light by less than 1/1000th of a second, but all eyes were on the blazing Castrol Cutlass as it shed the body and plowed off the end of the racetrack, flipping to a stop amidst a cloud of dust. Force eventually emerged with both his body and sense of humor intact, playing to the waiting TV cameras while playfully putting Al Hoffman in his place. Once John was checked out by the doctors and reunited with his concerned crew, he further enhanced his reputation as NHRA's leading showman by parading the charred remains of his fuel coupe back in front of the cheering crowd on the way back to the pits.
I remember that one like it was yesterday, and I would guess that a lot of the fans here at Memphis Motorsports Park remember it as well, as we get ready to take a look at round number 3 of funny car competition. And our first pair is going to be Ron Capps at the wheel of the Don Prudhomme car. That's the challenger to this one. This is the McDonald's machine out of Joe Gibbs Racing. Cruz Pedregon recuperating, and what a way to recuperate, right? After emergency appendectomy about 3 o'clock in the morning, Monday morning of this week, is here in round number 3 of one of the toughest types of racing known to man. Oh, a classic battle. The reaction times nearly identical. Cruz Pedregon out ahead just a little bit. In fact, he won it with a slower lap time, 5:05 to a 5:05. He was 3,000 slower than Ron Capps, but Cruiser to the finals. Who will he race? John Force and Al Hoffman, the final pair in the semifinals of the Pennzoil Nationals. Austin Coyle signaling to John Force, this is where I want you. Al Hoffman is hoping he continues his string of victories that would carry him to a final round. Mid-course, Hoffman ran into problems. John Force, another 493 at 313 miles an hour. So John Force goes to yet another final round this season and another big step towards his 1997 and 7th Winston Championship. 3-2, that's the count this season. John Force has got the advantage over Cruz Pedregon. As the finals will be up in just a few moments. Before we get to them, let's go down to the pit area. Here's Alan.
Well, Force might be looking for just another win, but the guy that drives that car, Cruz Pedregon, is looking for his first on the season. I can't believe it's been this long since you won, Cruiser.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's been a rocky season for us, but, I think we've turned the corner with the performance of this car. It's, as you know, the crew chief change was made last week. Credit Joe Gibbs and his staff, but really Mike Green has done a lot for us, and it's been the first couple rounds we didn't run that good, but the semis was a good race with Ron there and in the Copenhagen car. But we're happy to give old John a shot there in the final. It's going to be a fun deal.
I have to think that if you pick up the trophy today, that'll be the best therapy you could have for that appendix.
Yeah, I've been kind of babying it. I've been a little sore, but I've got a little bit of a fever right now. I'm feeling I'm dropping some cylinders here, but I'll have enough energy to get to the final and give it one good shot there. Where it's going to take all we have. John's been running awful good.
Boy, wouldn't that be a Cinderella story if he won 6 days after the operation. Bill?
Yep, over here at the John Force Basilica, and you can see he's signing a bunch of autographs. Hey, did you see the movie The Hustler?
Yeah, I saw it. Paul Newman.
He loses a lot, and then when all the money's on the table, he starts winning again. Do you see a connection here?
Well, there's one round left to go. Fans right now are all heading up to the stands to see this final against me and Cruz. We'll just give her our best shot.
Hoffman, now Cruz, you beginning to feel like Custer?
Yeah, well, the car's been running real well, Coyle and Bernie, and tried some new things, and the Goodyears are hooking up and working out there, and that's how we got that 314 mile an hour record. But Castrol and Matt Toole, all my people, they should be pretty happy. The Mustang's doing well. We'll see.
What do you think you're going to need to win?
I think I think Cruz is going to push it into the 4s, and we've been running 93, 94 with it, and we'll just see what he does. But what can I say? It's been a great day, and going to give the guys at All Pro Bumper to Bumper a show. Here we go.
Here we go. Elvis, stand by.
And, of course, John Force saw Elvis at 1,000 feet. Oh, look at this. He may be the king, but where's another king in Memphis? BB down on Beale Street, the Big Blues Club. Who's going to be singing the blues? We'll find out. Got another trivia note for you. Did you know that Joe Amato did not qualify for this event in 1995? That was his first DNQ since way back in 1982. We're here today with a big crowd on hand and gorgeous weather conditions here at Memphis Motorsports Park, and we're ready for the semifinal round of Top Fuel Eliminator. The shocker of this weekend has been the performance of Jim Head. The close call phone card company machine has just performed superlative, and of course Head's driving's nothing to be sneezed at either. His opponent here is the defending Top Fuel champion, the Darrell Gwynn-owned Mopar dragster, who in the previous round had run 465 with Mike Dunn at the wheel. That earned him lane choice over Jim Head's 469. Just as it was in the first round, Head from behind, 468 the winning time, $500 in slick 50 bonus money his way. Mike Dunn lost at a 466. Larry Dixon's Miller Light machine, the Don Prudhomme dragster, tuned by Wes Cerny, was the next to try to stop Gary Selzy in the Alan Johnson owned and tuned Team Winston car, the leader in the Winston points chase. Selzy has amassed a remarkable record. He's only gone out in the first round twice thus far this season. In the final four, though, it was a tough break for Selzy. The engine went away, and Larry Dixon won the race at a 471. Let's go to the pit area and Bill.
Larry Dixon, boy, he is going to the final round, and it must seem like 1,000 years since that Miller Lite car was ready for action. All you're doing is hyperventilating. You can't even explain what's happening, can you?
No, I mean, it's been so long since we've been to the final round. I mean, the guys are getting paid overtime today. So, I mean, it's been great for everybody on the Miller team.
You as a driver, I mean, are you just getting in the car and basically just pointing that thing? Have you had to pedal it? Have you had to do anything out of the ordinary?
This car has been running consistent 468 first round, 471 second round, 471 third round. And it's just been going down the track running 310, 317, 309. I mean, it's just been flying. This racetrack's great. I mean, I love Memphis, man. I'm ready to go.
You're going to knock the scoreboards down in the final round?
I hope after we get the win light.
Numbers don't count when you're going to the final round. Let's go to Alan.
Well, we stopped by the close call pit area to check in with Jim Head, the Top Fuel finalist, and his kid said, go to Allen's. So we came to Allen's. Head is actually hanging out here in the Team Winston trailer. Jim, you're going to have to step outside, buddy. I can't talk to you in there. It's no secret that you and Allen are very good friends. You've been operating as a team most of the season, but shouldn't he be over there now?
No, he's too lazy to go over there. I got to come over and see him. But no, Al and I have been working together. It's worked out well for both of us. We're very pleased.
You're having a great day. You're going into the final again. The second half of the season's been pretty good for you.
Hey, Al, am I the underdog this time, or maybe am I the favorite?
I think you got lane choice. We'll give you the favorites role.
Thanks.
What's it going to take to win the final? Dixon's been running strong.
65.
You're going to dial in a 65 and just let her rip?
That's what we just did.
I hope Bill Stevens doesn't pass that on to Wes Cerny over there. Mac?
Well, is it not incredible, folks, that the crew chiefs can dial in practically what kind of elapsed time they want, and if nothing breaks, they may get it. Let's see if it happens. One win apiece when they raced each other this season, Jim Head and Larry Dixon. That'll be the finals for Top Fuel coming up in a bit. You're looking across the Mississippi River at the skyline of Memphis, Tennessee. We're at Memphis Motorsports Park, and we'll be coming right back. We're getting close, and these folks know it, for the final rounds of this, the 10th annual running of the Pennzoil Nationals, presented by AutoZone at Memphis Motorsports Park. If you need your racing fix every day, let me suggest RPM tonight on ESPN2. On Sundays, it's on at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Hey, it's the only daily show devoted to racing on television today on ESPN2. Let's go down to the Jim Yates pit area. Here's Alan.
Well, Jerry Bickle is the race car builder for this machine. Jerry Bickle is also the crew chief for this machine. But I got to tell you, I just saw Yates with wrenches in his hand a minute ago. Are you going to drive the final?
Well, I was thinking about it, but I don't know if it's going to start. Jim's been working on it, so we don't know what's going to happen here.
You guys have had a dream season.
It's been really good, and today's been really good. We just hope we can guess the track. It's going to get a lot better for the final, and hope this McDonald's Pontiac's up to it.
How quick do you think you can go? You've been stunning today in the heat.
There's probably a 96 out there if we have the clutch right, or if Jim has the clutch right, or if he even has it in there. So I think it could run a 96, and Jim will do a real good job on the lights. I think he's really up for this round.
They think 96 will win this, Bill. What does your guy think?
Well, I'm with Ken Lee. He's the crew chief for Mark Osborne. Look at how little the printing is on there, and the driver's name is much bigger. Hey, what's going on here, Ken? You do most of the work.
Well, we're just doing the best we can. We've got a good crew here helping me and everything, so it helps a lot.
You got a good bunch here. Boy, did you ever expect that Mark would be going to a final round this weekend?
Oh, I think the last one was 95 in Atlanta, and we're going to try to win this one for him, too. He's a good driver.
This is Jerry Ekman's old car, and by the way, the last time Mark went to a final round in Atlanta, he won it. Mac?
Bill, I got to know Ken Lee when I went to Roy Hills Driving School. He was there as well. He also has a Pro Stock license himself, but now he's turning the wrenches for Mark Osborne. A year ago here at Memphis, Jim Yates was in the final round as we flash back to 1996. The McDonald's Pontiac was up against Warren Johnson and his Pontiac Firebird. This again, 1996, final round, Pro Stock Racing. My, what a difference a year can make, and moving from June to October. Warren Johnson won it a 7:22 to a losing 7:27. And here in 1997, we're talking about elapsed times in the 6-second zone, 6:94. We've seen several of them today and a bunch in qualifying. So in a few moments, we're going to be seeing the final round of Pro Stock Eliminator. In just a moment, when we return, we'll update you with what's going on in the funny car pit area. Stay with us. If you talk about Memphis, there is certainly the most famous Ducks in the world. It's the Peabody Hotel in downtown Memphis. The Ducks that make their entrance every morning and leave every evening. Quite an attraction here in Memphis, just like Memphis Motorsports Park has attracted the best drag racers in the world. We're ready for our funny car final, and down at the starting line as they're coming into the staging lanes, let's go down and join Alan.
Well, this is the time when we usually talk to the crew chief, so you're seeing it. Crew chief by committee on the McDonald's car that Cruz is driving. Between these guys, they've got about 60 years of experience in nitro racing, both Top Fuel and funny car. Kurt Butterfield, you got chosen as the spokesman for the group. What are you looking for in the final?
We're looking to upset Force. I think we got a 490 in it. I mean, he's been consistent, but we've been there every round, so we stepped on it, so we're going to give him everything we got.
I've talked to some people, said the racetrack may be better out there now.
That's what we're looking for.
They've got this baby loaded up. How about your guy, Bill?
Well, it's Austin Coyle, crew chief for John Force, and John keeps talking about the new tune-up, but the new tune-up isn't so new anymore. You've won 3 out of the last 4.
Well, the old hound is marching right along these days. We managed to get another national record for speed here. This Memphis facility is really great, but I expect that McDonald's car to be really tough in the final.
Have you had any problems at all today? You've been breaking parts in the past and trying to figure out and noodle out what's going on, but it looks leisurely down here.
Actually, it's been kind to us today, I'll have to say. Things are going smoothly so far.
Well, that's good news for the Castrol team. They may have another championship under their belt, Mac.
Did you notice that Austin Coyle is even talking like John Force, talking about the car as the old hound? A year ago, John Force squared off against a Pedragon, except it was his teammate, Tony. The 1996 funny car final saw the two teammates in a classic battle. The finish line, it was all the boss man. 5:30 at 296 to a 5:55 at 265, again lending credence to the reasons for the move of this race to the month of October. Of course, John Force went on to win not only his 6th Winston Championship, he also picked up the Driver of the Year honors in all of motorsports for 1996. More action coming your way, and a look at Top Fuel when we return to Memphis. This is what Memphis Motorsports Park looks like from the air, and massed down there along that quarter-mile racetrack are thousands of fans waiting for the finals. Here are the finalists in top fuel. Allen's with one of them.
Well, Johnny Davis is the crew chief for Jim Head, and just like Jerry Bickle with Yates, you built that car, Johnny.
That's true. It's kind of fun to be able to put together something like that and get the performance out of it like we have.
Is there something a little different in that car from most of them?
Not really. It's a little different. Jim likes to do a few things different, and it isn't much different than the other cars out here.
You guys have been the picture of consistency today. Give me a number for this final round.
I think we're going to run a 65, and Jim's going to be good on the lights again, so I think we got a pretty good chance.
Bill Stevens, they're going to run a 65. Can your guys outrun that?
You know, I've just been talking to Don Prudhomme and Wes Cerny, and they're telling me that they're a little bit leery of this racetrack. They're kind of playing that on the fence game. They don't want to put too much into the car and beat themselves, but at the same time, if there's not enough in there, they may just wave goodbye to this championship, and they'd be very, very disappointed. They really want this win. And it looks like right now that the track may be the wild card as to who goes home from the trophy here in Memphis. Mac?
As you can tell by the shadows in the staging lanes, the sun is setting in the west, and that means that racetrack is improving every minute of the evening. In the finals a year ago, 1996, Jim Brock, the head wrench for Joe Amato. He was up against Mike Dunn, who we saw lose just a moment ago in the semifinals. Dunn was not about ready to lose here. He wanted a 4:89 elapsed time, did it on a hole shot. Joe Amato trailed him at a 4:80, 306 mile-an-hour speed. But Dunn, the 1996 champion here at the Pennzoil Nationals. You can see they're getting ready to go in the Pro Stock Truck category. We'll have that action for you when we come back to Memphis Motorsports Park. It's the 10th annual Pennzoil Nationals. What a weekend at Memphis Motorsports Park. Here are some scenes of action, both in qualifying and in today's eliminations. All that you've been watching was earlier this weekend. Right now, let's go live to the starting line at Memphis Motorsports Park and the Pro Stock Truck final round. It will be Thursday, a week from this week, just before the race in Dallas, the Revell Nationals, the announcement of the 1998 season concerning the Pro Stock trucks. And a rapidly expanding schedule can be anticipated. These are the newest vehicles in NHRA Winston drag racing. They have captured the imagination of fans across the country. The trucks using 358 cubic inch small block engines with 5-speed transmissions. And the difference between these and the Pro Stock cars, you got to pull some levers to shift the transmission. Alan Reinhart.
I'll tell you something, Mac. Nothing has captured the imagination of the fans recently quite like the trucks. They've talked about over and over, the trucks are so popular. I mean, how many people watching our show, I wonder, drive trucks as their daily drivers? And now we're starting to race them. These things are just flat cool.
John Lingenfelter in the Chevy S10 got out close to the guardrail, but he got to the finish line ahead of Darrell Alderman, and he did it on a hole shot. 782 and 172. As the Chevy of Lingenfelter beat the Dodge of Alderman, 780 at 172. Look for the trucks in 1998. It's going to be an interesting category. Here's the action in Pro Stock Motorcycle through round number 2. You see Angel Sealing, the winner a week ago, advanced, as did Steve Johnson, John Smith, and John Myers. The other side of the ladder, into round number 2, went Matt Hines against Gary Tonglet, while Dave Schultz defeated Hector Arana. In the semifinal round, Angel Sealing had prevailed over John Smith, while Matt Hines defeated David Schultz, bringing us to this point, the final round of Pro Stock Motorcycle. The Suzuki from Americus, Georgia, ridden by Angel Sealing, had run 7:39 in the semis, beating John Smith. Matt Hines had run a 7:37. He is the new Winston champ in Pro Bike. He has the lane choice. Here's Bill.
Well, Matt Hines clinched the 1997 title last week by beating himself. Yes, Angel Seeling took him to school in the final round, and that was the only thing that ruined a 2-for weekend for Vance and Hines. Matt would have loved to have won that race last week when clinching the championship, but Angel put one on him. My choice for this race, Matt Hines. I don't think he's going to let the little lady do it again.
The Vance and Hines Suzuki, that team of Vance and Hines, of course, Terry Vance, their rider for so many years, almost synonymous with the sport of motorcycle drag racing. Matt Hines, the second generation of that team, his dad Byron Hines, a rider in his own right, and the engine builder. Let's watch and listen. Angel Seeling. The win at a 7:35 goes to Matt Hines. He reverses the fortune of a week ago at 182 miles an hour. Angel Seeling gave it a shot. She was 0.03 of a second slower at 181 miles an hour. Our instant replay shows you Angel Seeling in the far lane left just a hair too soon. In fact, she left 1/100th of a second, or 0.010 of a second too quick. And Matt Hines takes the win as his dad Byron and the rest of the crew of the Vance and Hines team celebrate the win. Let's go down to the far end. Here's Alan.
Matt, does that make up for last week?
Definitely. That was a pretty good pass. We left the line about the same, and she was side by side. I started going to the right a little bit down there. Started spinning the tire. She started creeping back up on me, but I still had enough to stay ahead.
You didn't see it. She was red. You went 7:35.
Oh, man, that is awesome. Whoa! Yeah.
And a 412 light. That's an unbeatable combination, Mac.
Well, unbeatable is 24 years old. You're the Winston champion. You're riding the baddest motorcycle in all of pro stock bike drag racing. What a year it has been for Matt Hines. Here it is, time for the final round of Pro Stock Eliminator. You have your chance to cheer for your favorite or possibly for the underdog. And I will assure you, the underdog is not this man. Jim Yates and his McDonald's Pontiac taking yet another giant leap forward in an effort to win his second consecutive Winston Championship. Thus far this season, he has recorded 6 wins on the NHRA Winston Trail and has a big lead. Here again is Bill.
You know, we saw the Pro Stock trucks just a little while ago, and as I watched those trucks leave, it looked like there was a lot of racetrack there, not a whole lot of wheel spin. And I would have to say that right now conditions are pretty ideal for both of these cars. And as I said before, Jim Yates has been as unpredictable as Howard Stern on the starting line this year. If he can cut a good light, I would say the race is his. Alan?
I'm not sure Mark Osborne has got enough race car, even if Jim is a little bit late. They've had a good day. They've been pretty consistent. But Yates said he thinks he can run a 96. If he does, he wins, period.
Let me add one more to his victory total. That came 1 week ago at Heartland Park, Topeka. Jim Yates with 7 wins on the season. Mark Osborne in the far lane. Yates on the near side of the racetrack. At the starting line, but as the prediction was made by Jerry Bickle and Jim Yates, they ran 6:96 at 197 miles an hour. I never cease to be amazed at their ability to pick in elapsed time what seems to be out of the air, but that's the basis by which experience is built, and they certainly have got a wealth of it there with the McDonald's car. 7:04 the losing time as we watch in replay. Didn't take long for Yates to play catch-up to Mark Osborne. Even though Mark had the advantage at the starting line, the margin of victory at the finish, 51 thousandths of a second. I'm sure they're happy at the finish line as well. Alan Reinhardt.
Jim Yates is just crawling out of the car. He's going to get a medal from Miss Winston, Jennifer Schrum. And you've got so many of those things, Jim. Do you keep counting anymore?
Oh, I tell you, we love every one of them right now. But I want to say hi to my babies at home, Jonathan, Melissa, and Jamie. They didn't get to make this race, and it's a real pivotal race for us in the championship drive. And I just want to say hi to them and we'll be home shortly. Wish you were here.
You guys told us 696. You ran 696. That's uncanny.
Maybe we ought to start betting on the lottery or something. I mean, we've been picking a pretty good day. This car has been just running really good. I mean, guys have done a great job with this McDonald's Pontiac, and I'm just really happy for us.
I don't think he needs the lottery. He's pretty close to a big bonus check from Winston, isn't he, Dave?
Yes, he is. 8 wins on the season, and yet another trophy going to Jim Yates. He's got a gigantic lead in the Winston chase, 347 points ahead of number 2, Warren Johnson. Then comes the rest of the top 5, Kurt Johnson, Bruce Allen, and Steve Schmidt, rounding out the top 5. Guess what? We've got 2 of our pro categories out of the way. Coming up next, John Force and Cruz Pedregon. The Funny Car Championship at stake here at Memphis Motorsports Park and the Pennzoil Nationals. Here's another Did You Know? From 1988 to 1990, Mark Oswald appeared in the Funny Car final round at this event, winning twice in 88 and 90. Let's listen to him start. Both engines running. Time for the burnout. Let's go down to the far end before John Force gets there. Here's Allen.
Well, I know that Jim Yates is down here hoping that his teammate is going to join him in the winner's circle, but I got to tell you, the streak that Force has been on, the way that car has been running, unless they make a mistake, I got to think that this is John's race to win or lose. He's got lane choice. He's been in the 4s all day long. Cruz is trying to be Cinderella. It'd be an outstanding story, but I think Force has probably got him covered. Bill?
Yep, it would be an emotional victory indeed when you remember these 3 things. Cruz Pedregon has not won a race this year. Dave Settles, the crew chief, left the team last week. They're tuning that car by committee. And last Monday, Cruz Pedregon's appendix threw a rod. He just got out of the hospital. If he wins this race, you're going to have to nail everything down because he's going to blow it off the table.
I understand that Cruz, when he went into the hospital hurting so bad he just couldn't stand it, told the doctor, I don't care what you do to me, I have to drive on Friday. The doctor made a very small incision, took out his appendix, and said, okay, take it easy for a couple of days, and here you go. But as Cruz noted earlier, he has not been feeling well all day long. If he wins this race, I wonder if he's going to try to go find another appendix to remove 2 weeks from now for the Revell Nationals down in Dallas. Look at Austin. No emotion whatsoever. Toothpick in mouth, indicating that Austin is as confident can be. And why? John Force has had yet another remarkable season. Look at this. The Yates family intently watching because their teammate, the McDonald's car out of Joe Gibbs, racing with Cruz Pedregon, has a chance to stop the juggernaut that is John Force. And a huge fire in the McDonald's car as Cruz Pedregon blazing it down into the shutdown area and into the guardrail. As the NHRA safety safari rolling quickly, Cruz Pedregon impacting the guardrail. And climbing out through the top and crawling out under his own power is Cruz Pedregon, getting drenched by the safety safari. He is out of the car, but the McDonald's Pontiac is history. As Cruz Pedregon, the safety equipment doing exactly what it's supposed to do. This is the medical staff, EMT technicians riding on the safety safari truck. First on the scene will be assisting Cruz Pedregon. Let's take a look at it again in instant replay. They both smoked the tires. They both had to lift and get back in the throttle. When they did, the Pedregon car had some serious engine problems. John Force went on to take yet another win. But the attention here was all directed at the Golden Arches machine. It was the Pedregon car that was up in flames well before the finish line. Here from another angle, the low level, far end camera. Take a look and ride along. Imagine what it must be like to sit inside the inferno that is the Pontiac of Cruz Pedregon. As Force crossed the finish line and took the win, Pedregon was battling the car, trying to keep it upright. Let's go to Alan.
Well, as you can see down here, the medical staff is on the scene. We saw Cruz get out of the car. That's certainly a good sign. The fire was very intense, obviously, in that McDonald's Pontiac. They have sprayed Cruz down with some water, just trying to cool him off. They are checking him for burns. I'd love to get in and ask Cruz about this, but there's no way I can disturb what's going on there. As soon as the medical guys give us an okay and we can get a soundbite or talk to Cruz, we would be more than happy to do that. But as you saw him, he got out of the car. He seems to be basically okay. They are checking him over right now. Mac, when I get a little more information, I will let you know.
Well, one of the primary concerns is, of course, the inhalation of smoke. And there was a huge amount of smoke, as you saw, not only in the real-time action of the run, but also on all the replays, how intense and heavy that black smoke was. The team at the starting line, obviously, certainly depressed about this. That's Mike Green. He is the crew chief on the dragster and had been adding his tuning expertise to the funny car. Once again, back to the far end and Allen.
Well, the medical staff is still working on Cruz. We came over to take a little bit of a look at the car. As far as exactly what happened first, it's kind of hard to tell, but the fuel tank looks like it exploded. It was a huge inferno. The safety safari and the fire crew making sure that all the fire is out down on the bottom of the car and the diaper underneath. This thing will be drowned. I tell you what, I'm glad that it wasn't me that had to sit in that thing, and I'm glad that Cruz got out of it okay. Again, we'll try to get you an update on Cruz just as quickly as we can. Right now, let's go back upstairs. Dave?
Alan Reinhardt is on the scene, as you are well aware, and as the medical staff tends to the needs of Cruz Pedregon, we'll try to get something from them and have it for you when we return to Memphis Motorsports Park in this 10th annual Pennzoil Nationals. John Force the winner, Cruz Pedregon, a serious fire.
Watch the Wendy's 3-Tour Challenge on ABC Sports December 20th and 21st.
We're back at Memphis Motorsports Park, and this was one incredible final round in funny car. In the far lane, Cruz Pedregon lit it off in half track. The fire burned and burned and burned some more. Cruz was able to get the car sideways into the guardrail. It spun around, a huge black cloud of smoke, indicating the composite fiberglass body was burning away, and he was able to get out of the car under his own power. He has been treated here at the scene and is being airlifted to a local Memphis hospital. He is reported to have burns about the hands, but otherwise is in great shape. Alan Reinhardt has caught up with John Force.
John, I know you're happy with the trophy, but you're concerned for your friend.
Well, you are. You take Castrol and Mustang here and All-Pro bumper-to-bumper action. All these guys have paid the money, and you want to get out and jump up and down, but you can't because it took a lot of energy. Joe Gibbs, this guy, they're struggling. Their crew chief, they parted ways. Cruz had an operation. Coil, Bernie, and Mellon, they've done a tremendous job with this car running the national record. It's just real sad to see that car towed by, destroyed the way it was destroyed. That was a major fire. And he was right out the window. I don't know really what happened. I had to pedal it, but sorry for him.
Back at the starting line, the thunder of 7,000 horsepower nitro engines coming to life for our final in Top Fuel Eliminator. The question is, can Jim Head continue his consistent 460s? Larry Dixon is the challenger to Jim Head. Let's go down to the starting line area. Bill.
Well, are these the best two cars here this weekend? Take a look. Corey Mack loses the head. Jim Dunn loses the head. Kenny Bernstein loses to Mike Dunn before he even gets to Jim Head. These guys went through a whale of a field to get to the final. Dixon, look at him. He beat Selsey. No question, on this given day, these two cars have earned the right to make the final round.
Jim Head with a remarkable string of runs, capped by a 468 in the semifinal round when he beat Mike Dunn. That earned him the lane choice against Larry Dixon. Dixon in round number 1 matched that 468. But you heard Jim Head predict a 465. Will it happen? To the finish line, the win by 0.003 of a second, Jim Head. 467, 308, 467, 312 for Larry Dixon. The advantage at the starting line to Head was necessary because, as we see in the replay, Larry Dixon was 0.006 of a second quicker down the racetrack. The margin of victory, when you take the reaction time and the elapsed time, figure them together, went ahead by 0.003. How long was that? You see it there. Truly a matter of inches at the starting line. The Coast Call Phone Card Company responds to the big billboard sign indicating the win going to Jim Head, his second of the season. Don't forget, he won that U.S. Nationals up at Indianapolis Raceway Park. So it was a classic battle, an identical 467s. Let's go down to Allen.
0.003 of a second.
Yeah, she's close, that's for sure. I saw my win light come on for a change. That's the first time in a long time, but that was another close call for my boss, Carl Smith, and the better, younger-looking Carl Smith down there in Sarasota, Florida, to our Catalyst group, Close Call Communications. I'll tell you, we did it for them, and I love them to death.
I tell you, there were some people that said Indy was lucky. I think this is a little vindication for Jim. This car's strong, Mac.
Yes, it is, but Gary Selsey's got a strong lead in the top fuel points. Corey Mack, Joe Amato, Scott Coletta, and Kenny Bernstein. Well, Bill Stevens and Alan Reinhardt and yours truly, Dave McClelland, have enjoyed all of this action from the Pennzoil Nationals here at Memphis Motorsports Park. We hope you have too. Coming up next on ESPN2, the Tournament Fishing Series. The Pennzoil Nationals has been a production of Diamond P Sports in association with ESPN, the worldwide